Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope you are having a nice day. I am Diovana. I'm just going to check. I'm here with my colleague Rafaela. I'm just going to check with my colleague if can she see me and hear me. So it means that you guys can also. Hi, Rafaela. Thank you for being here. So this is the webinar about buying a home in Eindhoven. Let me give you a bit of an introduction. There you go. Today's section will be recorded and shared with you later on. So just for you to have about all the information that we're going to share today. At the end of the presentation, we also, and you can already probably see there is a space for a Q&A. So you can write it down all your questions, or you can also write it down them at the chat. We're going to answer as much as possible. We do have a timeline, so we're going to try to stick to that. But we are also going to try to answer all your questions. My colleague Rafaela will answer them during the presentation as well, already started. And at the end, if there is more, then I will answer them all. Please feel free to write them down. Let's start with an introduction of myself. So as I said, I'm Diovana. I'm an expat buying manager and also a rental one in Eindhoven area, the whole south actually of the Netherlands. I am from Brazil. I have a daughter and a son. I have moved to the Netherlands in 2009, so I've been here for 14 years now. Rented many places, I think about 9 properties before I was able to buy one in the Netherlands. It took me a while. I bought my first house, I renovated completely. I sold the house and I bought a new one and I renovated completely as well. Trying to find another one actually to renovate. I'm a bit crazy about renovations. I do like it a lot. We have a little poll that we would like to share with you just to get to know how did you find us, those kind of questions. So I will launch the poll and I will give you a few seconds just to answer the questions. So please feel free to let us know a little bit about you. Why did you decide to buy in the Netherlands? What are your the rents are too high? We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that. I would like to settle. Yeah, that's a good move if you want to buy. If you want to settle, that buying is also the one of the best decisions you can make. So I think we are done, almost done. Let me see. Yeah, yes, we are. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me close this and then we can move forward. Wait a second. Oh, I have to click it again. Yes, there you go. A little bit of an introduction about the market, the things we're going to talk. We're going to talk about the company, about the difference that we can make helping you out to buy your house in Eindhoven area or the south area, whatever you like to say. We do also buying at the whole Netherlands, of course, but this webinar is for Eindhoven. Some market info, I think that's one of the most important information that you can have. Some market drivers, what makes a difference to be able to explain to you a bit of the savings that you need. As you can see, there's a lot of sun entering on my window. So if you don't see my face completely, that's why. I'm trying to enjoy the sun. It was a lot of darkness the past few weeks. And of course, some tips to how to win an offer in this market. Let's move forward and start to explain how everything works. Greatness is achieved in the agents of others. We truly believe that. This is our team at H&N that works through Netherlands. We do have two colleagues that just started, so we're going to add them later on. We have people from all over the world, people that have lived everywhere as well, which is make us which we can also rely on your experience. I've been an expat in the Netherlands. I've been an expat myself, of course. So I think that's the big difference. A little introduction about ourselves. We're not traditional real estate agents, which means that we don't have properties to sell or to rent. We do help. We are the people in the middle to help you find those properties. As I already said that we charge a fixed fee, so we don't have a percentage. There's no commission on the price of the property that you're going to buy. So it doesn't matter if it's 100,000 euros or if it's 3 million. The price will be the same. We know what it looks like to settle in a new country. Of course, we all have done that in our company, which makes, I think, the understanding of the process much better. How can we add value on your journey of buying a house? So selling agents do take offers from H&N more seriously. We are a very known company. We work with expats for the past 7 years. And then of course the sellers, they always want to know if everything was checked for the person who's going to buy the house. And that's something we do to make sure that you can have your offer accepted, that everything is checked, and that you send the most safe and the best offer possible. We can sometimes book viewings when it's no longer possible. That's true. If it's a house that is very competitive, I see that houses that we have energy label A and B these days, because of the gas and electricity the price that is quite high lately, that it's a little bit difficult to get viewings for those houses, especially also houses that don't need any kind of renovation. So sometimes when it's not possible for you guys to book a view, they do have always spots free for agents, so we are able to book them for you. We do support by reviewing Dutch legal and property documents of the properties, so all the documents will come in Dutch. So if you don't speak Dutch yet, I do, for example. So if you are thinking about learning, it takes a while. It's not easy, but don't give up. You're going to get there. But in any way, of course, I'm not a Dutch speaker. I do speak Dutch, but we do also run all the documents by someone that is actually a native Dutch speaker to be sure that everything is okay. We're going to check everything for you before you sign anything. One of the most important things is define market value through market data. That's very important. I will explain that later. But it's it's more or less a comparison of the Funda value, the website that sells the houses in the Netherlands, where you can see all the houses, and the value that you can actually bid for the house. There's a difference on that. I will explain you later. And we will inform you about rules and regulations. There are different rules and regulations when you buy a property in the Netherlands. And I think that's very I'm so sorry, my computer is still going on. I think that is very important for you to know how those regulations are, especially if in the future you'd like to move to another country or rent the property or something like that. We're going to talk a little bit further about those. Let's go further. Wait a second, it's not going further. Yes, there you go. Where are you in the process, just for me to understand what have you done already? It's only a few questions. There you go. I will give you again a few seconds to answer. If you already seen a property, if you are doing search, if you already talked to someone about it. And important questions if you have talked to a mortgage advisor, mortgage broker, or even to your bank to know your financial power. That's very important. I see a lot of people. Some people already did it. That's great. Some people already chat with agents. That's also good. I always tell people to talk to as much as you can. You need to have a click with your agents to buy a house. Same for the mortgage advisor. There you go. Viewing properties, researching. Oh, fine. Perfect. I think we're good to go. Yes. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let me continue. Let me close this one. There you go. Some market info for you to understand the buying process in the Netherlands, the market in the Netherlands. So here you can see the average price that the house were sold in the last quarter of the year last year was 407, which is quite high for our region, for the Netherlands, I would say. New builds went even higher, 498. New builds are the builds that nobody ever lived before. There is most of them are still being built, and they have a very good installation. Energy label is A++++, plus all the plus you can have. So that makes a difference when you buy it as well, just for you to understand how high the prices went up for the past few years. This is the Eindhoven figure. So average price last year was 420, which, to be honest, is super high. If you compare, I would love for you to see the average price for about 3 or 4 years ago. It was insanely lower than this. So it's very, very high. Still, we see that it didn't went so high as it was the year before, but of course, the whole question of the war and the whole crisis and everything. But this is for you to have an idea. You will be able to see those figures. Remember, you're going to receive this, so you can analyze them a little bit better. So just for you to have an idea about the average price, that is 3,491. Of course, depending on the property, it's just an average of everything that's been sold for the best in the Q4 on 2022. Let's move further. Some market drivers, what caused the price to increase? Fiscal benefits, about the 2% exception, tax exemption, that's exactly what it is. I will explain to you a little bit later. Interest rebate, you can always have interest rebate in the Netherlands, so that's something that makes a huge difference on your monthly payments. No capital gains, tax-free parent donation. This tax-free parent donation, it did end. It ended already. No, it did end. I think it was, but mostly is for Dutch people, unless your parents do live in the Netherlands and they want to donate some money for you to buy a house, then you will have to pay taxes up to 20,000 euros above 20,000 euros, if I'm not mistaken. Last year it was, it didn't matter how much, so there was no taxes, and now there are taxes. And but if your parents don't live in the Netherlands and they want to donate some money for you to buy a property, then there are no taxes whatsoever. Of course, depends on your country. Maybe there are taxes in your country, but not that you don't have to pay taxes over that money in the Netherlands. Lower interest rates. Yeah, I know some people did put it there that the interest rates are quite high. And yes, compared to last year or the beginning of last year, for example, they were 1.92% and 1.5 sometimes. They are high, much higher, of course. But what we say about the interest rate is that the banks could not keep it up with such a low interest rate for too long. We have them very low for a period of a year and a half or so, and that was it really. Before that, they were around 3.5 2015, 3.5 2015, 2016, around 3.2. So we are around 4.5 more or less now, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Still, the rents are quite high in this country. And even though the interest rates are not like 1.92%, 2.5 like they were beginning of last year, it still is one of the lowest interest rates in Europe, for example. And you still are able to get 100% mortgage. And that's what makes a difference. Although it seems that they are much higher than they were, definitely, but they are still very low compared to other countries, and you are able still to get 100% mortgage. And the problem is the rents in these countries are insanely high. So instead of paying rent, if you are thinking about staying in the Netherlands for the next 5 years, I would say buying is always the best option. But we're going to talk about this a little bit further, but just for you to understand what it makes the house price going so high. And of course, a lack of supply, right? There are no properties for everyone. We know that. And maybe now it's a bit more flexible because after COVID, I believe a lot of people didn't came, but they ended up a lot of them did came afterwards. And now it's kind of stabilizing, I would say. But still, it is a lack of supply. There are no enough rental properties. When they are quite expensive, and there are no houses for everyone to buy, right? So let's move forward. Yes, these are the rules that we talked about that the market rules that you have to pay attention when you buy a house in the Netherlands. So there is a very important one for us expats, a self-occupancy obligation, which means that if you buy a property, an apartment or a house or whatever, that the WOZ value, what is the WOZ? WOZ is the value given by the municipality to charge you the taxes. Plain and simple. There's nothing to do with market value, nothing to do with Funda, nothing to do with the bank, nothing to do with nothing regarding to the buying process. It's a simple taxes, a simple value based to be able to charge you the taxes, like the sewage taxes, water taxes, the property taxes. So WOZ value, remember about that. If you click on that link, you're going to receive this presentation. Remember, you can see, you can read more about it, but in Eindhoven, in the area as well, Veldhoven, Heldrop, Noonen, Best, Did I provide any Helmond as well? If you buy a property that the WOZ value is lower than 350,000 euros, it means that you're not allowed to rent the house. You have to live in the house for the first 5 years to be able to rent the house. And still, you're going to need to be able to rent it before that, you need a permission from the municipality. If you buy a house at the WOZ or a property, an apartment, doesn't matter. If the WOZ is above 350, you don't need any permission from the government, from the municipality to rent the property. So be aware of that. There are more, of course, there are different every house, every property is different, but this is the first thing that you're going to check. WOZ value, lower or higher than 350. There are exceptions, and in that link you can find them all. You can find the questions as well to the Eindhoven municipality if you need, and they are valid for Veldhoven, Helderop, Best Noonan, Helmond, Helmond as well. So just for you to have an idea, Oostwalge as well. So they are valid for those municipalities, but you can go to each website if you like, and you can see what are the rules, the correct rules. And remember, if you always need permission from the bank to rent out your place, and it might be that you have to change your mortgage to buy to let instead of buy to live, just for you to understand that. So that's very important for you to talk to a mortgage advisor about that if you are thinking about renting a property in the future. NHG to increase to 405. NHG is a special mortgage that is in the Netherlands. It calls National Mortgage Guarantee. It has a special type of clause that will protect you a little bit more than the other mortgages. The interest rates are normally lower on NHG mortgage, and they did increase. Last year was you have to buy a property up to 355, and this year from January on is up to 405. Excuse me. Up to 405. If you buy above that, you're not allowed to have that mortgage. However, they do charge once time a fee. It's only one time, it's 0.6% of the purchase value for you to be able to have that mortgage. There's also a link that explains all the things that could be, that will protect you if you get that kind of mortgage. Limit of transfer taxes, that's a very good one. We're going to talk about all the costs of the buying process, and this is one of them, transfer taxes. If you buy a house that someone already lived in, basically register in the city hall in that property, you do have to pay 2% transfer taxes to the government for that property. But the government had installed the limit transfer taxes, which means that if you buy a house, if you buy a new build that nobody ever lived there, there's no transfer taxes, doesn't matter how much it is. But if you buy a house that up to 440,000 euros, and you are younger than 25 years old, you never bought a house in the Netherlands before, you don't have to pay those 2%. You have tax exemption. You don't have to pay 2% transfer taxes. If, for example, you have a partner and the partner is 36, but you are 35, and the house costs 430, it means that you pay 1% transfer tax because your partner had to pay 1% because he's above 35 years old. So that's how it works. But the limit for the price is 440. You can't pay anything else more than that, and you do have to be up to 35 years old, and then you don't pay the exemption. Same thing, the limit is there, the link is there, you can click and have more information about it. Investors, if you buy a house to rent it out, if you're not living, if you're not going to register yourself in the house, there are no exceptions for that. So you do have to pay transfer taxes, but the transfer taxes, when you are an investor, when you're not going to register yourself in the house, when you're going to rent the property, for example, it is 10.4%. It used to be 8% until last year, 31st of December. Now it's 10.4%. Just be aware of that. Another thing to talk to a mortgage advisor about it. Let's move forward. What would you need in savings before you start the process? So you are able to finance 100% of the purchase price if it's the market value, of course. I will explain you that later. But what do you need besides that? So here is a little overview, like I think it's a very simple one for you to understand what do you need. So we always tell our clients that you need 3 to 5% in savings and cash to be able to buy a house in the Netherlands, buy a property, because the bank will only finance the property, but not the costs of the process. So transfer taxes, if you have to pay transfer taxes because you are older than 35, even if you buy a house below 40, but you're older than 35, you're going to have to pay transfer taxes. So that's how you calculate 3 to 5%. So for you guys that have to pay transfer taxes because you're not included on the 440 or on the 35, count 5% more or less in cash from the purchase price. So let's use 300. So then you can calculate more or less 15,000 more or less as a transfer taxes, right? If you pay 5%. So if you don't have to pay transfer taxes, you can calculate the 3% from the purchase price. So around 12, let's say, thousand in cash that in savings that you need to have. What is included? It is mandatory for you to have a notary. They're going to do the mortgage deed and the transfer deed. So that's mandatory. In Eindhoven area, it costs around 1,500, 1,600 with all the documents that they need to make at the notary. One thing before I go through other ones, you can see tax deductible. So everything that is regarding mortgage is tax deductible, which means that the next year you can apply for when you do your taxes, you're going to get around, especially if you have a 30% ruling, you're going to get around 38 to 41% back of that value. So you have a little list of what is tax deductible or not. So although we say 3 to 5%, you're going to have some cash back from all the costs anyway. A mortgage broker, a mortgage advisor, or the bank, they will also charge you. They are tax deductible as well, which is quite good. So it depends on the bank and depends on the mortgage advisor. There are different prices. I would go up with the 1,500 and starting at 1,800 now for the mortgage because the prices went up, just for you to have an idea. As we talked about it before, we do have a fixed fee. But normally if you go to a normal real estate agent, they do have 1.1 and 2-3% of the purchase price as a commission, not tax deductible, I'm afraid. The appraiser is the guy that's going to make the valuation report. Is mandatory for you if you have a mortgage, if you need a mortgage. If you're buying cash, you don't need that. But if you have a mortgage, it's mandatory for you to have a valuation report, and that has to be done by an appraiser, an official appraiser. And the costs in Eindhoven area are 800. I actually just booked one today for a client. Technical inspector, 435. It's a little bit less than Eindhoven. I think it's about 400, 410. Technical inspector is the one that is going to look at the house. I will explain a little bit later. It's not mandatory, but if you're buying a house that is a bit older, it's always good to have. And then those are the costs, more or less. Interpreter, if you don't speak fluently Dutch, it cannot be only understanding. It cannot be only just a little bit. It has to be completely fluently. You do need to have an interpreter. You can have in your own language, or you can have it in English, for example, which is cheaper actually. Bank guarantee, that's 10% of the purchase price that has to be sent to the notary's bank account. You don't have to, it will come in your purchase agreement. It's the fine that you have to pay to the seller if something goes wrong within the buying process. You don't have to have that money by yourself. You can borrow the money from the bank. They charge a little bit for that, and then after the process is done, if nothing happens, the money will go back to the bank. But they do charge. It's a temporary loan, let's say, but they do charge an amount to do that. And depends on the bank, it can be a fixed fee or can be a percentage. NHG, that's the special mortgage. I talked to you guys about it. Up to 405, you can have that special mortgage. You do have to pay one-time fee 0.6%, and it is tax deductible though. So those are the costs, just for you to have an idea. But the most important thing is, remember, 3 to 5%. If you are paying transfer taxes because you're older than 35, or because you bought a house that is more than 440, count 5%. If you are younger than 35, if buy a house lower than 440, count 3%, just for you to have an idea how much you need in cash to be able to buy a house. Of course, some of the things are not mandatory. For example, agent is not mandatory, technical inspector is not mandatory, but basically everything else is. NHG is not mandatory as well at 0.6%, but basically everything else is. So keep in mind when you are looking for a house, and you can calculate more or less. If it's less, it's great, of course, how much you need. Let's move forward. Yes. we're going to talk about the tips to win in the current market and how does it work. Everything. Remember when I said about the appraiser and the valuation report? So that's exactly what we're going to talk about it. It's about the value of the property. So basically, if you have a property and you want to sell this property, you can you go to a real estate agent and you tell them, like, well, look, I wanna sell my house, right? To be able to put your house on funda.nl, FUNDA. That's a website where you can see 99% of the properties in the Netherlands. So basically, if you want to announce your house on Funda, you do need to have a real estate agent. You can't announce the house by yourselves. It has to be from a real estate agent. We're the only one that can use Funda. So you're going to have a discussion with the real estate, and they're going to tell you more or less what the price. But actually, you can choose how much you want to sell it, right? So the price that is on Funda, and that's what we're going to let you see. It's not always the market value price, and that's why the bank needs a valuation report from an appraiser, an official one, to be able to give you the mortgage, because they want to know what is the real market value is. So take a look at this. This is the property, okay, 395. Let's go further. So 395 is the asking price. Why do we put the asking price? Because this is the price that is being asked on Funda, on the website. And then the market value, as we found out, the market value being 415. So do you see the difference already? 20K. So which means that the bank will finance 415 if you have the budget, of course, right? If you have a budget of 350, that's what you're going to get as a mortgage, 350. But let's say you have a budget of 500. So the bank will only finance what is in the valuation report. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 million as a budget, that's the one that's going to be financed, the 415. And if you have less budget, then it's your budget, of course. But the maximum, it's only what is in the valuation report given by an appraiser, remember? So the purchase price in this case, it was 435. It's just an example, just for you to understand how the market works. So which means that the person who paid 435 will have a valuation report of 415, and the difference, the 20K difference from the market value and the purchase price, they will have to pay by themselves in cash. Because again, the bank only finances the market value given by an appraisal in the valuation report. And if the report says 415, you can pay 600 in a house, you're only going to get 415. The rest you're going to have to pay in cash. And that's what we call overbid. So you can see here purchase price, asking price versus purchase price. If you look at the price based on Funda, then the person, this fake person overbid 10%. But if you look at the market value, and that's what you should look, they overbid 4.8%. So in Eindhoven, I can't tell you how much you have to bid for a house just by looking at Funda. I do have to do my price research for that and come to the market value before we send an offer, of course. But in Eindhoven, for you to have an idea, there are companies there put their prices really low, like this one, 395, and then the market value is actually 20K more. And there are companies that put exactly market value. So if you go up, you're going to have to pay the difference. And there are companies that put very high, and then you're going to have to say, this is ridiculous, it's too high, I can't even have a mortgage for this. And then you try to negotiate. Remember, it's all about negotiation, but it's also about a city that has not enough houses and way too many people to buy, or way too many people to rent. So that makes a huge difference. And depends on the house, the competition will be too high. Houses that are quite new, very good energy label, very good location, nothing to do, basically, maybe paint a wall or something, but not even that. It might be that the competition is much higher. So that's why you see here, for example, the purchase price was 435. Most likely the competition was quite high, and 415 wasn't enough to buy this house. And then someone with savings decided to pay 20K from their own pocket. So that's for you to understand value, and that's how the market value works. And remember, Funda value, it doesn't mean that that's the real value of the house. It might be less, it might be way more, it might be way less, it might be the correct one. That's why an agent I would say us very handy, because we can calculate those market values for you and make the offer corrected, so you don't have to overbid or pay too much, or not getting the offer accepted because you didn't bid the corrected price. Just for you to understand. I have another example here, I believe. Let me see. Yes. This one is even more absurd. Asking price 375, market value it's 415. Believe me, we've seen that, especially in areas where too many people looking for. They do exactly like this. They bring market value down. More people are coming to the viewing, right? So then you attracted more people, and then maybe someone with a budget of 390 believe they can buy a house of 375, because they have no idea about market value, because they believe that that's the price. So then all those people will come to the viewing, but at the end they won't be able to buy it, because the market value is 415, which means that if you buy above that, look at this one again, 435, you bought above market value. If you buy for 415 or less, you bought within the market value, or even less than the market value, which would be great. And we are seeing that happen. Sometimes even more than it was in the past, of course, because people are afraid to buy. The interest rates are higher than they were before. But again, if the house, especially if it's a new build, for example, they are still going very high, because it's, first of all, it's very easy to get a mortgage. Second of all, the energy label is great, so you don't pay that much for water, electricity, and gas. Most of them don't even have gas anymore, and most of the expats don't want to go through renovation. I would very much advise to. It's therapy for me. I really love it, but most of the people don't want to do renovation. So those houses, when the competition is too high, there is most likely people will go higher on the price as well. But just continue here. So based on the 355, they pay from funda value. Remember, the first asking price is funda value, and the last price 435. They paid 60K above funda price. But we don't once you have the market value, funda value is completely, you don't talk about it, you forget about it, because the bank doesn't want to know about it as well. So if you pay for a 50, the same thing is the same as the other slide, only 20K above the market value. Not only, it's a lot of money, of course, but it's 4.8% that you overbid, and not the 16, because the funda value, it's not ideal anymore when you have the market value. Just for you to understand. What does a winning offer has that they can help you to make the best offer in the market, and get the property you like to have? So offer a good price. So that's based on the market value. Always remember, I showed you. Forget from the value. You need to understand what the market value is. It might be too high for a property, it might be too low, or it might be the correct one. Today, we're going to send an offer for a house that actually have more or less the correct market value that we are expecting to be in the report. So that's how the conversation starts. Of course, you're always going to have crazy people that will offer really low or way too much. And then there is no competition really. But the laws about the renting part, the up to 350 at the WOZ for Eindhoven, it did make much better for people to buy a house. Before, to be honest with you, before the war started, I had a lot of clients that were just investors. So they would just call me and tell me like, look, I have 400, find a place. So there was no competition for me. They didn't want to know how much the house costs. They just want to find something and put it out there to rent. So that law came and actually helped a lot of people now, because those people can't buy it anymore. Low properties a low price and just rent it out. They can't do that anymore, because they have to be the WOZ value without permission above 350. So that gives you a little bit of average. So offer a good price based on the market value. Not always the highest price will be the winning one, because the seller wants security. That's what they want. They want to make sure that the house will be sold. And the only way they know, it's when the mortgage is approved. So if you offer a very high offer, let's use that property, right? 395 was it, the asking price, the first one. And let's say you offer, and we know, I did my price research, and I know that the market value is 415. But let's say you offer 490 and you want, or 450, and you want to finance 100%. So the selling people know that's not going to be possible. You're not going to get a mortgage, because they know that the 415 is the valuation for this house. So anything you offer more, you have to pay in cash. If you don't have the cash, you're not going to be able to finance. So you see, not always the highest price. It is about market value. So that's how you offer security to the seller. Offer the less amount of hassle. What that means is when you put way too many clauses in the contract, I want this, I want that, I want them to leave the bed, I want them to leave the lamp, or I don't know, I want to move in that specific transfer date, or I want this and that. That makes if another offer comes up and they don't have that much of hassle, they will choose someone else, just don't have the problem, right? Of course, it's always the price always is going to be a big deal, but security is what they need. So the one that offers more security, that's what is going to get the house really, especially now. Offer a personal touch. What that means is the sellers always want to know what do you do, what kind of contract you have, and how they can be like, breathe. We sold the house. Now they just need to get a mortgage approved, but we are confident that everything will be fine because they have good jobs, or because doesn't matter what the story is. Some people do want to know who are the people who are behind their houses specifically, just because they are very attached to the property. They've been there for 30 years, or they raised those kids there or something. So that's what it means, offer a personal touch. But most of all, pay attention to the clause when you offer. Pay attention to the market value of the house, so you don't overbid, you don't pay too much, or you don't offer really much less that it's not going to be possible to win the offer. And some properties you will have to offer less, really, but that's something that you're going to discuss with your agent, right? So that's something that you can that we can really advise you what you have to do. Let's go further. What do you need after your offer gets accepted? Oh, I already answered the question that is in the next slide. I always do that. But technical inspector and appraiser. So what do they do? Do you book them before or after your offer accepted? It is after your offer accepted. I always answer that. It is after your offer is accepted. So that's why the market value is very important. So you can't know the market. You can't have an appraiser being in a property before you go to you send an offer, and that's why the market, the price research to know the value of the house is very important before you send the offer. An appraisal costs 800 euros. You can't send an appraisal to every house you're going to see to make sure that you are sending the right value. So that's where agent comes in handy for you. After the offer gets accepted, you have about 1.5 weeks until you sign the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement is the deal between you and the seller, and also going to have all the clauses that there were in your offer. But please book them before you sign the purchase agreement, to be sure that the price that you have put it in your offer will be in the valuation report, and to be sure that the technical inspector won't go to your house, to the house you chose or the property you chose, and find terrible things, and you are going to end up buying the house anyway. Why I'm saying that? Because after you sign the purchase agreement, you have 3 days, we call cooling off period. They cannot be those 3 days cannot be in the weekend on a holiday. It has to be working hours. So let's say you sign on a Friday, you have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evening until midnight to pull out of the deal without paying any penalty. Of course, you're going to pay the technical inspector and the appraiser because they have been in the house, but you're not going to have to pay, remember that 10%, the bank guarantee that I told you? You're not going to have to pay that to the seller. After those 3 days, you can't get out of the deal anymore unless your mortgage is not approved. If you want to get out for any other reason, you're going to have to pay those 10% to the seller, 10% off the purchase price. So 30,000 euros is going to have to pay to the seller if you pull out of the deal that's not mortgage related. So that's why book them after offer gets accepted, but before before signing the purchase agreement. Then you have the report for the inspection, everything is done, and the house looks amazing. Perfect, go ahead. And you have the valuation report. It is the value that you need for your mortgage. Done, go ahead, sign it. You have 3 days just, cool down. Maybe it's not your dream home. That's the time to decide it, I'm out. Or you go through and your mortgage process will start it. So here there's a little timeline. That's also a very good timeline for you to understand how the process goes, right? So start your search. A lot of you guys already own Funda, looking and making appointments. So start your search, do what you do. talk to your agent, send offer for the house for the properties that you imagine yourself actually living there for a long time, for example, because you never know about the future. Submit your offer. When your offer gets approved, you book the appraiser and technical inspector. After 1.5 weeks max, you're going to sign the purchase agreement. Once you sign the purchase agreement, you start your mortgage application, because in the purchase agreement you will see all the clauses that were in your offer, such as the financial clause, the deposit, the transfer date, and everything. So you still have those three cool days to get out of the deal. Those trades are passed, and then you have an average of 4 weeks to have your mortgage approved. I would say now it's taking a little bit long. Well, depends who you work with, but the banks are taking their time, not because they were being a little bit more conscious with the mortgage last year, but now as we read and with our contacts, they're being quite easy again, but they don't have enough people to work, so it's taking a little bit longer. But your mortgage advisor will tell your agent how long do they need to get your mortgage approved. Let's say 4 weeks. Normally it's 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 weeks, and then your mortgage approved, and then everything will be sent to the notary. So you see here, last inspection, transfer deed, and key handover. That's the day you get the keys of the house. That's the day you actually start to pay your mortgage. And that's the day you actually start to pay those 3 to 5, not that day, but before that day, when you see statement of completion, you will receive a final invoice. And that's that in that invoice, you will see those 3 to 5% that I showed you at the beginning, remember, with the mortgage advisor, with the notary to pay. That's when you pay that final invoice. You transfer the money to the bank. The notary will send you an invoice with all the payments, for example, us, the mortgage advisor, the notary itself, all the costs for the house. And then you're going to transfer the money to the notary, and the notary will pay everyone else after your transfer date. So let's say the transfer date is, I don't know, 1st of May at 10 o'clock in the morning, which means that an hour and a half, depends how far is the property from the notary. You go to the house, and you're going to have something called last inspection. In that inspection, you're going to see if the house is at the same state as it was when you saw the house, when you send the offer, when the offer got accepted, when you signed the purchase agreement, right? The house has to be in the same state. So which means that the seller can't do anything. He can fix it, something that if it's broke, but they also, of course, they have to inform you and the selling part, and the buying part as well, and then fix it. But he can't, for example, I don't know, I don't like the wall between the kitchen and the living room, I'm just gonna take it out. He can't do that anymore without your permission, because you signed the purchase agreement, right? So that's the time when you're going to also look at for the meters, water, gas, electricity, whatever. If it's a new house, they're going to explain to you everything, how it works. They're going to give you like a bunch of papers from the house. And then if everything is fine, you sign the last inspection report, you go to the notary, and the notary is going to have the translator, and and then you sign the transfer deed. That's the deed between you and the seller. That's the day you become the official owner. And then you're going to sign the mortgage deed. That's the deed between you and the bank, to make it official that you're going to pay the monthly payments. And from that day on is when you start to pay your mortgage. One thing that I didn't say, for the people who are just doing search now, when you go into Funda and you see that the property is available, it doesn't mean that it's available for you to move next month, for example. In the Netherlands, it's very common that you see a property and you go see a property, and then they're going to tell you, oh yeah, it is actually the house you're going to send an offer today is going to be available only in September, but it is available for sale, but it's not available to move in. So it's going to be available in September. So if my clients get the offer accepted, and I hope they will only be able to move in at 1st of September. So that's in the 1st of September is the transfer deed. When you sign the transfer deed, when you do the last inspection, when you get your keys, the keys handover, and that's when you start to pay the mortgage. Just for you to understand. So normally, when you go to see a property, if they're not empty, and even if they are empty, remember, it takes about 1.5 weeks after your mortgage gets accepted, offer gets accepted, to sign the transfer deed, the purchase agreement. More 4 to 6 weeks to have the mortgage approved. That's already almost 2 months. More 2.5 weeks, I would say, for the notary to do all the documents for you to be able to sign. So count around at least 3 months before you're going to move in the house. If the house is available to move in, but most of the people, it is longer, 4 to 6 months, just for you to understand how it works. Of course, if you don't need a mortgage, then it's much simple, right? If the house is available, if the property is available, nobody's living there, you just pay in cash and you can move. That will take like 2 weeks, I believe. So, but if you need a mortgage, it is a more long process. Just for you to start to planning if you had some doubts. So after you go to the notary, gets your keys, you do have about 2 months liability, actually the end of the liability. So what it means is that you can use the house as much as you can. And if there's major things that you believe that the seller is responsible, this is the time that you contact the seller and discuss about it. For example, you move in, I had a client who moved in a Wednesday, and on a Thursday, there was this insanely rain in Eindhoven. It was a lot, really, last year in June, and then of course some water came from the roof, and that's not my client's fault, right? He just moved in a day ago. So we contact the seller, and the seller ended up fixing the roof. In this case, there was no technical inspection. My client didn't want to do one. It is optional, the technical inspection. The evaluation report, the appraisal is mandatory, but the technical inspection is you can choose. So they didn't want to do it, and then the seller did fix the roof for them. But I also had a client who moved in a house in 5 weeks. 5 weeks, that's quite a long period. The dishwasher broke, right? So he called me, he was like, oh, they need to fix the dishwasher. So that's a very difficult topic, because dishwasher is something that you use a lot, right? Almost every day. I would say in my house 2 times a day even. And then what happened is that this house was already, the kitchen was already 18 years old. So it was really just bad luck, really. 5 weeks after, you can't claim a dishwasher anymore. It's too long. The kitchen was old. You knew what you're buying. So that's just bad luck, what happened. So this liability period is a very gray zone. There are no laws protecting you or the seller. So it is more a conversation, but you do have sellers and buyers. There's always like that. So pay attention to that. Be aware that you're not going to move in and start to call the seller for everything, because that ain't happening. They don't have the obligation to. It's going to be on the contract that from the day you sign the transfer deed, the house is your responsibility, and you need to have home insurance or your property or apartment. So just for you to understand where this liability goes, it is a very delicate matter. But this is the timeline for the buying process. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. But it might take a while. Depends on your budget, depends where you want to live, depends on how your conditions for the mortgage and everything. This is what we can offer you. This is our package in the company. You'll be able to see them at the end of the presentation. You're going to receive them. Feel free to contact us if you have any doubts about it. Now is the time for the Q&A. That's the time my colleague Rafaela comes in. And one thing I want to say, it's a lot of information in this presentation. So if you have any doubts and you don't have the question now, and you're going to receive this, you're going to see my email. I think you're going to see Rafaela's email as well. So feel free to drop us an email or give us a call if you forgot to ask something today. Let us know. We don't mind to share information. So feel free to contact us if you have any more questions, or if you don't have a mortgage advisor yet, we do have a lot of partners. As I said in the presentation, I bought 2 houses. Rafaela also bought 2 or 3, maybe. Rafaela, I don't remember anymore. 2. So we have used mortgage advisors for ourselves as well. So feel free to, if you don't have, we have a big list of colleagues. They're very nice people that can help you out. We don't mind to share that as well. So just send us an email or give us a call and we can help you out. On to you, Rafaela.
Hello. Thank you, Diovana, for the presentation. It was really nice and informative. At the moment, we don't have any questions open. I would give a few seconds if someone has something to ask. We would have the time to answer it right now.
Perfect. So let's give a few minutes then. Just so you know, Rafaela is in Groningen. That's in the north of the Netherlands. Beautiful city, though. I live there myself. Is it sunny there as well? It's very sunny here, though.
It is sunny. I heard that it's snow there, right? But
Yes,
here,
we have snow. Yes, we have snow. It looks really pretty. Well, a little bit messy now because it's starting to melt down, but it's pretty though.
yeah, here it's really cold, but no snow yet. So we're waiting for it.
Yes.
Let's see. We have some questions. One from Alan, how much is your fixed charge?
It depends on the package. If you choose for a smart package, it's 2,999. If you go for the complete package, is 3,999. If you like, you can always book a free intake with us and we can explain everything to you, how it works, what we do, all the specifics, and go more into the process, give you more information that is not in this presentation, of course. We do have to save something for ourselves and then we can explain a little bit more deep about the process. You can always book a free intake with our team and then we can explain everything.
Perfect, thank you. We have another question from Philip. What if you have no income due to job switch, but proper savings? Are savings considered for a mortgage?
If you don't have an income, I'm afraid it's going to be hard. The bank do want to see what's going to be the future for the payments of the mortgage. So it will be a very hard. It will be very hard for you to get a mortgage approved without a proper income. I'm afraid, unless you can pay almost the whole thing in cash, of course. But if that's not the case, it will be very hard.
Thank you. Let's go for the next questions. This is a very good one, actually. Do you see any decrease in the house market recently?
I think they mean price, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Yeah. So what we see is that the prices for the properties that are above 450, or I would say 440 maybe, they are taking more longer to sell because up to 440 you do get the 2% transfer taxes, and that's between 380 and 440, 450. It's more or less the expats budget, I would say. Most of our clients have that budget, but we a decrease, yeah, I would say a little bit, just a little bit. It's more like stabilizing than decrease completely. It's not going up for sure, which is good, because last year, the year before, we had like 17-18% in a year. That's how much the house went up. But we do see a stabilization, but we are expecting that the houses go a bit low. Yes, we are expecting that. But not so low, like, for example, in 2009, when the house went for 500 to 300, for example. We are expecting a lot, I think, into the end of 2004, I read something about 5 to 6% maybe. But that's why we tell people, if you like to live here for at least 5 years, even if it goes down a little bit, it will go up again. So that's the good thing. And then after 5 years, you make the profit anyway, and you're not paying the rent, because the rent is going up anyway. It's not going down anytime soon, and there are no legislation that makes them going down. So that's what we expected. I hope it's an enough question.
I think that was very clear. I think also ended up answer Goshia's question. She asked, when do you expect the price to drop in the market? So I think this is also answered.
Yeah, the thing is with the dropping, it also depends on the demand, on the amount of people that will buy, right? So the problem with Eindhoven, I would say, is that we have just too many people that live here and they want to buy, and people that are still coming, they don't stop coming, right? The expats, we are still coming all the time, and that makes the house price in Eindhoven not going down as in other cities. For example, if you go further, if you go out Eindhoven, like 20, I would say, like, you see the south, very deep south part of the Netherlands, next to Maastricht, for example, next to Germany border. You see that the prices there are going down a little bit more than the normal, because they don't have that amount of expats coming. They don't have that many people there. That you have more like the Dutch families living there. So then you see a difference in the market. But in Eindhoven area, that's the problem. We are expecting it to go down a little bit, but we don't expect like a decrease. And even if the decrease comes, it will go up again. That's what all the banks are saying as well. But we still, the demand is really high for Eindhoven area, and that's that's one of the biggest problems with the pricing really.
Perfect, thank you. I'm a little bit mindful of the time, Diovana. I think we still have some time for a few more questions, right?
Yes.
And then the ones that are left, I think we can have an intake later on to answer all of them. So let's move forward. How important is the intent letter from employer? Will my mortgage request get rejected if I don't get this intent letter, if I don't have a permanent contract?
It might be rejected because you don't have a permanent contract, but that's something you will know before when you talk to a mortgage advisor. They will tell how important it is, but an intended letter is it's almost like mandatory. So if you are able to get one, already get one, but your mortgage advisor will tell you if you have a chance or not with the intended letter to get your mortgage approved.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Christian. Hello, if you already have a loan for a vehicle or a different loan, will it make it impossible to get a loan for a house?
It depends on the loan. It depends on the mortgage provider. Some mortgage providers, depends which mortgage provider will be chosen for your mortgage. Some mortgage providers I had a client in Rotterdam last week, and they didn't even allow them to have a cell phone monthly payments for the cell phone. They have to literally terminate the contract with T-Mobile to be able to get the mortgage approved. So it really depends which mortgage provider you will be choosing. Some of them don't mind. Definitely car lease, that's a nightmare. You can't have that if you want a mortgage because your budget go down around 100,000 euros if you have a car lease. But it really depends on on kind of mortgage provider you have for your mortgage. The mortgage advisor will be the one that can answer that for you better.
Great, thank you. Another question from Gosia. Do you expect the interest rate will be changed this year?
Yes, they are talking about we heard from a mortgage advisor that it might be a little bit down, but it always depends on what is happening with the whole war complication, right? If something really bad is happening, it's going to go up again, and then it's going to go down, and it's going to go up. So they don't have any predictions like a big one like we had last few years that we knew that we would go down, down, down. Now it's more like trying to stabilize on 4%. So we expecting that it's going down a little bit and maybe a little bit up and then maybe a little bit down, but trying to stabilize on that.
Thank you. I have another one question from Anna. Do you charge based on those packages plus 1 or 2%?
No, we charge a fixed fee and that's it. It doesn't matter how much is the purchase price.
Another one from Anna again, where we can do a search about the market value.
There are many platforms that you can do that, but there are a lot of platforms that you guys don't have access. Only real estate agents have access. I'm sorry, I'm afraid. If you do the intake, I can explain to you more deeply on that one.
Yeah, we definitely can help you with that.
Yes.
Is there any difference between European and non-European citizen when buying the house?
Nope, there are no difference. No difference at all. No.
Perfect. Diovana, do you think we still have a few more minutes?
How many questions we have more?
We have 3 left at the moment.
I think we can do 3 left. Yes, we can do 3. I'll try to be quick.
So I heard some rumors about price cap of 1,250 euros for the rental process. Will it be applied for social house only?
I'm not sure about that question regarding the rental. I can't answer that really.
Yeah, probably it is a benefit or something that you should be.
Yes, there is a new benefit, but for you to be able to have social voting, you need to have a very low income. You can't be an expat. You can't have the 30% ruling though. And if I'm not mistaken, you do have to have a Dutch nationality. So just be aware of that.
It's also nice to mention that we also have a rental team that work with us, so we can also book an intake with one of them so they can clarify any doubts you might have.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Alan is asking what happens if the mortgage is not approved after signing the purchase agreement.
So if you have the financial clause with 100% financial clause, 100% of the purchase price, then you can pull out of the deal without paying any penalties. Of course, you're going to have to pay the appraisal and the technical inspector because they have been in the house and done their jobs. But you can pull out of the deal without paying any penalties. You just have to be careful with your clause. If the clause, financial clause in the contract, you are good to go. You don't have to pay the 10%.
Thank you. We are going for the last one because we said 3. I see more questions popping up, but you can always book a call with one of us, then we can answer everything. So let's go for the last question. Is variable rate of interest a choice for near future?
Yes, definitely. I would totally think about that. It really depends on, it always depends on your mortgage provider, really. Some of them, they will say that it's not good for you, and some of them will say that it's the best thing for you. We can't answer that without knowing which mortgage provider you're going to get, really. It really depends. That's something that you should check with your mortgage advisor.
Perfect. Thank you, Diovana.
I have 1 minute. If you have one question, I have 1 minute. Then I have to jump to another webinar, but I have 1 minute.
This is specific for Eindhoven, so this is a good question. Is Eindhoven good city for looking around Helmond, or Heldrop is good? Currently, the housing is selling above the asking price or below the asking price.
So it depends on the house. If the house is quite new, not much to do, and that's a difficult question because maybe the asking price is not the correct market value, right? So if it's a really low, I'm gonna tell you that it's selling above asking price. And if it's a really high market value on Funda, I'm gonna tell you that it's going to be it's being sent below asking price. So without doing my price research, I can't really answer you that. But regarding Helmond and Heldrop, both cities are fine. Heldrop is closer to Eindhoven, but Helmond does have 3 train stations. Pay attention to that, which is a miracle in this country. There are 3 train stations in that small city that goes everywhere. So and then houses are a little bit cheaper in Helmond, though. So that makes a huge difference as well.
Perfect, thank you. And we have the last question. Which energy label houses you will suggest?
I would suggest an A and B max. I have a D, and I know it hurts every month to pay gas. But I love my house. I do. I love it. It's old and it's pretty, and I did everything to make it pretty. So, but A and B are great. You pay less for energy and gas, and you do have, the banks do love it, A and B, but you also have more competition when you send an offer for a house that energy labels A and B. Just be aware of that.
Great, that was it. We have no questions left.
Perfect, we did it. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have more questions, if you forgot something, let us know. Drop us an email. You're going to see the presentation and the video on your emails within a few hours, or maybe tomorrow. And then you have all the contacts. And if you forgot something, just let us know. And if you want to book an intake, it's free. We can go a little bit deeper on your own situation. Yeah, that was it. Thank you so much, Rafaela, for helping me. And we speak soon, I guess.